Free traffic is about developing that trust with people and authenticity with people, and the relevance. Relevance is so important. Having that relevance with people so that you're always top of mind. Because when you're doing direct response, they don't know you. So your copy has to be on point. It has to solve a very specific problem. It has to have a very strong value proposition or a statement of value. And you have to have some way throughout the direct response copy, you have to build trust and close a sale.
This is The Fighting Entrepreneur, the podcast dedicated to entrepreneurs looking to change the world. Learn how to start, build, and scale a business in today's highly competitive business environment. Here's your host, The Fighting Entrepreneur, Anik Singal.
What's up, you crazy fighting entrepreneurs? Welcome back. This is Anik Singal, your favorite person in the whole wide world. And today we are going to talk free traffic. We're going to talk about brand building. We're going to talk social media, maybe even a little SEO. But we're going to talk to a person who does this not only for a living, not only for himself, but for some of the top founders and CEOs all over the world. So he's got a wealth of knowledge that comes from all over the place, and that just makes him that much smarter. I'm really excited to have him on. I've gotten to know him a lot more in the last few weeks. I'm super impressed with everything he does. And so this is a very selfish episode because you're going to see about halfway through the episode, I'm just going to make him build out a strategy for Lurn, and I'll give him a very specific challenge, and you get to listen in and then utilize all of that knowledge for your business. But before we can start and before I introduce him, are you a member at Lurn Nation yet? Come on, LURN.com. Look, you can either stand by and watch this movement steamroll right past you, or you can go to LURN.com, get a free membership. We're going to put 10 million people into that community. What are you going to do? Come on, get over there. We got training. We're building social connection features. We're going to do so many things because my personal belief is this. If you want to change the world, you want to truly build a legacy, connect entrepreneurs. When you connect entrepreneurs, good things just seem to always happen. Not our government, entrepreneurs. All right, so LURN.com, get over there. Now, let's talk about our guest for the day, Jeff Hunter. So here's how I came across him, okay? He was I posted on Facebook, someone, something or the other, some comment. He came in and he replied under it. And it was just smart aleck of a comment enough that I was intrigued by who he was. So I click into his profile, find out, wow, this guy, he's free traffic. I mean, he's social media. He's out there talking about this stuff. He's got a very different approach. He's very upfront, very direct. I love that about people. So I just hit add friend. And sure enough, he added me back. That was awesome. So now I get a chance to see more about him. And within just a couple of weeks of that, I find out he's speaking at Traffic and Conversion. So now I start to think, all right, this isn't just some person sitting in the corner somewhere who thinks they're a traffic expert. You don't get to speak at that kind of a convention unless you know your stuff. So then I start to follow him closer and closer. I start to Google him a little bit, watch some of his videos, and it's not just his knowledge and the skills that I started to really admire. It was just his approach, his directness. You're going to see that today. He's a dude. Like he's just,
I'm a dude.
He's a dude. He's a dude. He just puts it out there, and I really appreciate that about him. So, but I haven't had a chance to get any free consult from him. I haven't actually had a chance to really learn from him directly. And that's what I use this podcast for. You all know that, a very selfish motive. So he's building personal brands for founders and CEOs all over the place. And today I'm going to ask him to build mine. And then you get to do everything he teaches me for your own brand. So everybody, let's put it together for our guest today, Jeff Hunter. Jeff, thanks so much for being here, man.
Wow. That does take me back because it's been a while. I don't think we actually had a real video to video call before today.
No, we didn't, man. We didn't. And I really do appreciate you being here. But Jeff, we do have a bit of a tradition here at The Fighting Entrepreneur that you gotta do, man. I need you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeff Hunter.
I, Jeff Hunter.
Do solemnly swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Do solemnly swear to always tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
And reveal all my free traffic secrets.
And reveal all of this free traffic to you.
All right. See, that's how you know he's an entrepreneur. He doesn't want to follow directions. I love it. All right, Jeff.
I'm a rebel, that's for sure.
Yeah, let's do this, man. I'm going to dive right in. So we're going to go into round number 1. Okay, round number 1. Jeff, who are you? Where did you fall into internet marketing? What's going on, man? Tell us your story.
So funny enough, I came from the corporate world, which I think is a big advantage actually as an entrepreneur. I was always in IT. I was an IT project manager for a Fortune 500 company, and I started realizing really quickly that I actually was good at this stuff, and I wasn't getting paid what I could in the free market. So I did what most people would do selfishly, and decided to go on my own and go broke. So I
That sounds
found out
awesome.
really quickly that being a project manager is a lot different than being an entrepreneur. I also found out that I couldn't sell anything. Um, and it's interesting because, I worked for one of the biggest brands in the world, Philips Electronics, which if you say that, everybody knows who Philips Electronics is. So I was leveraging their brand to do work, right? So, but when I went on my own and I was just Jeff J. Hunter, um, it just wasn't as easy. So that's actually how I became who I am today. I got obsessed with trying to, luckily I realized what it was to have a brand and to really have people trust you. You have to build up a strong brand, and that's where I am today. So all the traffic, all the events that I go to, the masterminds I go to, and I actually want to take a step back and reinforce what you just said. You're right. When you get entrepreneurs together, magic happens, and
Yeah.
I am proof of that. I bucked the system. Government didn't help me. Matter of fact, they've done nothing but try to destroy me since I started making money.
Ain't that a doozy? We can get you back on one of our Freedom Friday episodes and we could talk about that, because absolutely it's like they pay more taxes but make less money. That's what they want. I'm like, well, I don't understand.
They don't want you to get rich. They want to take your money as soon as you start getting to a certain point, so that everybody's equally miserable.
Hey, have you listened to our episodes with Tom Wheelwright? Because he solved that problem.
Obviously going to have to.
He solved that problem for me and for many other entrepreneurs all over. I love the guy. So I got a couple of questions for you. So you really decided to build brands, and that's like the hardest thing to do in my personal opinion, right? I think direct marketing can be much easier because, dollar in, $1.50 out, and rinse and repeat. That's why we do funnels. That's why we do Facebook ads and all of that. One thing I love about brands is what you said. It's easier to get things done. So one thing I'm really blessed with the Lurn brand and with my own brand is I can get great guests like yourself onto this podcast without ever explaining who I am, without you ever asking me, how many downloads do you get? Is your podcast even good? I just say, hey, you want to be on my episode? And because my name has been around, people hopefully like me. People say yes. So I innately understand the value of the brand. But it's always been my paradigm that it just takes years, and I think a lot of listeners will say this, it takes years to build a brand. You might go broke during those years. Do you agree, or do you have faster, rapid building like methodologies that we'll go over today?
I think that the definition of a brand is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you do is your brand. It's either building your brand or it's destroying your brand. Every time you make a transaction, every time you take somebody's money, it's doing something to your brand. Whether you're fulfilling on the promises that you do, that's your brand promise, right? So for me earlier, you asked me like if I could summarize what I do in one sentence. For me, I build personal brands for founders and CEOs by leveraging their accomplishments to become the influencer in their category. That's my brand promise. So everything that I do is about that. And it's funny that you say that earlier about the brand taking years. 1 year ago, you knew me as the king of outsourcing. Yes or no?
When I first connected with you, yes, you were talking a lot about outsourcing. It was when I saw that you're speaking at Traffic and Conversion that I got tickled by what's going on here.
So here's what's going on. So I built this whole reputation over the past 6 years as the king of outsourcing because I built a company called VA Staffer. It's a virtual assistant staffing company. And I was working with some of the largest brands, Domo.com, Pluralsight, Mixpanel, Coalfire. I mean, some of my clients I still work with, like Cox Communications. I work with a lot of brands building virtual teams. And I got really good because my background as a IT project manager. I'm really good at building virtual teams. And I thought that's what it was that I was good at. But I realized that wasn't, I mean, that's one of the things I'm good at, but what I was really good at was getting really known for doing something. So when I didn't wake up one day and name myself the king of outsourcing, it was a nickname given to me on a podcast 5 years ago and it stuck. Right? So
that's how all the best brands are built, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, but what's really crazy about what you said about you can go broke, trying to develop a brand for years. Marketing and branding, I think there's a very fine line. Matter of fact, I think there's a lot of intersection today. The truth is, everything that you do is your brand, and marketing is a part of your brand. Direct response marketing. I mean, think about this. You just got done saying something really key: $1 in, $1 out, $1 in, $1.50 out, right? Direct response marketing. Well, Facebook marketing's been getting a lot more expensive lately, right?
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
big time.
All the networks are getting more expensive because there's so much more people learning about ads and they're getting in there. And the more competition over ads is going to drive the ad spend up, right? It's going to, the cost of that client acquisition through Facebook ads, through whatever, it's all going up. You've got people running ads on Tinder now, like they're trying to find ways to get past the high prices. The cool thing about developing a brand, much like what you said, you know what? Since you had a confession about us meeting, I have a confession for you.
All right.
So my copywriter is also Ty Lopez's copywriter. He worked for me before he worked for Ty, by the way. His name's Kevin Fun. Shout out. But what's really funny,
that name down right there. No.
Yeah. Oh, I got awesome. You. Don't even trip. But what's really funny is that I wrote a Facebook post about something, and he saw that you commented on that. You commented on something, and you said something about, yeah, we got to get you on the podcast or whatever. And Kevin Fun, that guy, he already knew you. Okay. And what the funniest part was, before he mentioned you, this was probably like last year or maybe earlier this year, I didn't even know that you had a podcast. I didn't even know. Okay. I knew that you had a strong brand because we're very connected. I've looked at the stuff you're doing. So I saw you're doing some big things, but I didn't realize that you had this really awesome podcast. And it was actually because of Kevin. He was like, yeah, man, he's a big deal. He's got a really big podcast. And I was like, really? He's like, why aren't you on that guy's show? He's asking you to get on the show. And I literally reached out to you and said, okay, well, I should get on the podcast. Right.
Yeah.
And,
that's great.
The value of a brand. Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing about a brand that I want people to realize is that since we're on free traffic is about developing that trust with people and authenticity with people, and the relevance. Relevance is so important. Having that relevance with people so that you're always top of mind, because when you're doing direct response, they don't know you. So your copy has to be on point. It has to solve a very specific problem. It has to have a very strong value proposition or a statement of value. And you have to have some way throughout the direct response copy, you have to build trust and close a sale. But as you know, you've seen on my own Facebook, I mean, I can make one Facebook post and I can sell thousands and thousands of dollars of my programs, my courses, whatever. Matter of fact, earlier this year, I made 6 Facebook posts about my social copy secrets program, how to write copy for social media. And I made $40,000 in 11 days from 6 Facebook posts, no ads.
And that was on your personal page, not
on my personal profile page, just 6 Facebook posts.
So for anyone listening right now, we had a guest on, Jeff, Mike Bontempo, and he specifically spoke about how he's built $1 million business with nothing but his personal Facebook page, and you just reinstated it. So for anyone listening, go back to our archives at Fighting On. We did 2 episodes with them. They're amazing. So that's like, I don't care. You have no excuse now. If you are starting and you have no business or whatever, he gives you an exact blueprint how he did it. And that's exactly what Jeff's talking about. So Jeff, it's really interesting because we're starting, I've written down a bunch of stuff already that I want to talk about, and we're starting to create this marriage of the brand with free traffic. And I want to see where this goes. And I love the fact that it could go in a completely different place than I had planned for this episode. So it doesn't matter. But if you're cool with it, I want to go right into round number 2. So So round number 2, let's talk about if I'm sure Ryan wouldn't mind me picking on him a little bit and using him as an example. Ryan Levesque, he's a client of yours, a friend of mine. By the way, if you could ping him there, I've been trying to get him on the podcast, but he's too busy. We almost had him during his book launch, and then he oversubscribed himself, which I totally know the feeling of. But so I know that you do work with Ryan. I was reviewing what you're doing with him. I'm just wondering, so if I'm to work with you, should I, and I'm literally thinking like as a client, where would you coach me? Would you say, look, Anik, don't equate brand and traffic. Don't look at what we do for you on Instagram or on LinkedIn or any of these, so like to get traffic. Just look at it as, you know, what you said, top of mind. I want to talk about that. So is it just brand building, or is it okay for someone like myself to say, okay, I'm willing to invest in these social media images and this stuff that's going out there and these clips and these videos, but I want to get traffic from it too. I want to see my, like what we're going to do later in round 5, is I want to see my podcast grow. Like, I don't want just omnipresence. Like, I want to actually see some results in the growth of the podcast. Walk me through that a little bit. Let's talk about the marriage of brand and traffic.
You're going to hate me, man, because every time you do this, I'm just going to try and destroy your definitions of stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't care. Paradigm shifting. I love it.
I think there's a huge misconception of the definition of traffic. And okay. I also think there's an odd balance of traffic as well. I mean, yes, traffic to an extent is really important, but I also want to extend the value of influence, real influence. I'm not talking about the girl on Instagram who's got 2.6 million followers, and her name's Ari, by the way. You can look her up, ARRI on Instagram. 2.6 million followers, probably more than that by now. And she won a clothing deal. All she had to do was pre-sell 36 t-shirts to her 2.6 million followers. I did the math on that. It's like 0.00017%. Okay. She couldn't. She lost the clothing deal. So I don't know if traffic is really the most important indicator of a brand. As a matter of fact, I only have 40,000 followers in total. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. I've got about 40,000 followers, but let me tell you, they will follow me off the edge of a cliff. I'm literally the Pied Piper to my audience. They trust me. I have clients that every time I come out with something, they buy it. I have a client, I'm not going to say her name. She's amazing though, who her only rule, because she knows I do a lot of experimentation and implementation for my own self. And the only rule is that once I figured something out, that I contact her first to do it for her. Like, that's the rule that we have. So if I'm coming out with something, I'm like, hey, here you go. So the thing is, you don't have to have 1 million followers. You don't have to have 100,000 followers. You don't even have to have 40,000 followers. All you need is a couple thousand people who truly trust you, who truly believe you, that they understand they've built a really strong, deep emotional connection with you. They feel like they're really a part of a strong community. They feel like you are omnipresent, you're on top of mind all the time, and that you're relevant to them, right? And by the way, the proof in the pudding is all driven by the engagement that you get. See, I think that engagement is actually one of the most important words of today, because engagement, and I'm not talking like bots going, cool, check my profile in DM me, like those are bots. That's not real engagement. Those are fake people. They don't give a rat's ass about you. All they care about is a sale. Okay. And this is what's really awesome today. We've moved out of the social age. I know that it's like, wow, social media is great. We've moved out of that. Social media is actually vague and boring now. What we've moved into is, how do we use social media to create conversations? Okay. That's where we're at. How can we create conversations? Now, you brought up one of my clients, Ryan Levesque, earlier. And if you guys don't know the Ask Method, you definitely should get that book. We were fortunate enough to work with him on the launch of his Choose book, which was, another national bestseller. It was named the Book of the Month for the New York Library. It was just an awesome ride. But I will tell you, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm going to anyway. I might get in trouble by Ryan and his team, maybe his wife, Tylene, but I will tell you something that we're doing right now. And
you swore the oath, so you have to. You're bound by the oath.
All right, so I'm going to give you a strategy. Okay, this is something that we're doing for him right now. Okay,
Let's do it.
And this, you want to talk about out of the box. This is why it's important to have a personal brand, guys. So he has thousands and thousands of friend requests on LinkedIn. Okay, and he's a ghost on there. He hasn't really used his LinkedIn account. You know, he's a super busy guy, right? So we've taken over his LinkedIn account that with the first 1,000 or so friend requests or connection requests on LinkedIn, and identified that 400 of them were like fans, right? Like they were fangirling, like, oh, Ryan, read your ask method. It changed my life, right?
Can we
and
do
I'm
the
not
rest of the
degrading these
podcast
people
in that voice?
You like that? All right.
All right.
And what and so he has another offer. He has two offers. One is a kind of a group community type thing, and another is he has an event coming up that I'll be at, by the way, November 22nd to 24th in Austin, Texas. It's his Ask Live event. And what we went through is we started segmenting and identifying people that could potentially buy either they could show up in person to his event, or they could possibly be a good fit for his group coaching program or his next level up, right? His other offer that he promotes with the book. And we basically have a bunch of responses prepared. And we respond on Ryan's behalf to these people saying, hey, sorry, I haven't been very active on LinkedIn. I'm so honored that that the book really hit your heart. And instead of going straight for the sale, you know what the question is? One of Ryan's most famous things ever that he teaches in the Ask method, which was, what was your biggest takeaway? What was your biggest takeaway? Right? Because right then what you're doing is, and you're not trying to say, oh, look, I was trying to build a relationship with Ryan and all he wants to do is sell me his next course or ask him to come to my live event. Now we're saying, hey, look, I'm so glad that the book impacted you. I'm so glad that the Ask method was something that impacted your life. What was the biggest takeaway? What happens there is, it's more social proof, because I can say, look what these people are saying about how the Ask method has impacted their lives, how I've been able to help change their lives. And then guess what the follow-up's going to be? Wow, that is so incredible. I'd love for you to share your experience and come shake my hand at the live event. It's November 26th to 24th. I'd love to bring you here. It's $1,000, but I'd like to extend to you a $700 off coupon just to come down and share your words with me in person.
So what you just did is you asked an open-ended question that got them to reply, hence going back to what you just said, create a conversation. So here's been my approach, because I'm super late on the whole social media game, and I'm glad to hear that you said it's kind of over, so maybe now I can catch up, because I just skipped right over that whole thing. I'm not a social guy. As a matter of fact, my best time where I'm the most lethal, where I do the best things, is quiet, by myself, nobody around me, no human around me. And so social media has been a challenge for me. And even whatever anyone sees right now about me on social media, unless it's my personal Facebook page, everything else you're seeing is thanks to my team. I'm not doing any of that stuff.
Well,
but
let me tell you something though. I just want to be straight with you. For anyone who's thinking about, I'm late to the social media game, everyone on social media is doing it wrong. It's so easy to step out. It's so easy to establish yourself as a true authority and influencer in your space, because everybody's trying to sell. Everybody's trying to pitch. Everyone's doing it wrong. They're not investing in the relationships. They're not building an emotional connection. Most people, if you ask them what they do, they can't even give you a good answer.
So I have a question. So Dan Locke, he does this a lot of times. I've noticed on Instagram, and I just thought he's doing it to increase engagement so he can increase his organic reach. He'll ask a question like, what's one thing you're most grateful for today? And leave it in the comments. Is that a little bit of both? Is his social media manager just creating conversation and increasing engagement to get more organic, or no, that's just organic reach?
It works. It works. It's not a long-term goal. It's good to fluff some stuff in there. I find that still the stuff that works best, that gets into people's hearts, is long-form copy. Long-form copy. And when I do long-form, and let me give you all a hint. I'm going to give you all a hint, a really strong hint. This is what I do for my own team. And much like you, I'm not going to lie. My team does a lot of my content. Matter of fact, I woke up this morning. They gave me 5 different things to post today. That's what so this is what the rule that I do is my team every day. I should have 5 things to choose from to post. And I usually post 2 to 3 of those things throughout the day. Okay.
So Jeff, would it be fair to say that if I followed you on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever, we'll talk about this various platforms in a minute. Would it be fair to say, like, if I wanted to see a good example of how social media should be done, if I just started following you and your handles, would I get a good dose of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Especially
Awesome.
my Facebook and my LinkedIn. So my Facebook and LinkedIn, to me, that's where my market lives. I could possibly break out into the Instagram. I mean, for me, Instagram has been better at reaching out to brands, right? Because I only work with founders, CEOs, and influencers, people that are really like, I would call them figureheads, right? People that want to be well known, like you, right? Like Ryan Levesque, right? Like these are the brands that understand the value of a personal brand. They've already invested in their personal brand. I know that they know it's important, and they just want to see the needle move. They want, like you said, they want to see the audience grow. They want to see more engagement, right? Like that's my ideal client. So for me, I use Instagram to actually reach out to people personally and show them what I'm doing with my clients, engage with them. Of course, I'm not pitching. The first thing I'm doing is just adding them. Guys, I always say that everybody's doing social media wrong. Here's social media doing right. Instead of going out there and trying to pitch an opportunity to somebody, I challenge all of you to just identify 10 people that would be a really good client for you. Just identify 10 of them. All right. And then add them on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Just those 3 networks, or Twitter too, if they're on Twitter. Okay. Not a lot of people, I think besides Trump, not a lot of people are active on Twitter. But what's really interesting that you'll start noticing is hit the follow first button. Make sure that their stuff shows up first. And instead of just liking people's posts, write a good little comment. Like if you post something and says, hey, today on the podcast episode, I've got so-and-so, just like earlier, the Freedom Fighter Friday, and we're gonna talk about the government and taxes and blah, 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 blah. And if I said love it, you're gonna glance right over that. But if I say I'm in agreement or even disagreement, right? You just said earlier, I made a sarcastic remark to one of your posts and intrigued you. Right? And by the way, sarcasm and humor, the most valuable tools you could possibly use on social media. Sarcasm and humor. Write those words down somewhere. Sarcasm, humor. Those are the 2
sarcasm
things
works. I've got what it takes to be a mogul on social media.
You are a mogul.
All right, let's do this, Jeff. I want to change the tune a little bit because even for me, like I understand where you're saying we've got to change how we look at social media, but not everybody that's listening to this episode wants to be clients or wants to have clients. I want to change the tune here, and I want to get very tactical. I want to get very specific. So I'm gonna completely throw this out. Just, and I'm just going to dive right into round number 3. And what we're going to do is I'm going to propose a question, and that's going to lead to lots of other questions. And I think everyone listening, whether they're a beginner or if they're advanced, I think they're going to be able to pull a lot of specific tactical nuggets out of it. So let's go to round 3. All right, round number 3. Here we go. Just for everyone's, complete, honest, candor, transparency, I spoke to Jeff just like 2 days ago, and this might be a little bit too much bromance going on, but I was lying around in bed, couldn't fall asleep. I was like, Jeff, I was thinking about my podcast. I'm always thinking about my podcast. And although it's been growing well, I'm just not, I don't deal well with things going slow and steady. I want him to erupt, right? I'm the guy that used to do launches. That's my specialty, is launching a product. I'm used to like 2-3 months of prep and then bam, it just takes off. And the podcast is not like that. So I'm lying around. I'm like, I think it's time for us to triple down. Like I can see how my podcast is getting my brand out there. It's bringing people in. People are liking it. I'm getting good feedback. I'm learning a lot. That's the thing that most people don't know that I'm going to make an episode about soon. It's how much of what we're learning I'm applying. And we're seeing ridiculous growth in our company. So I'm just doing these episodes on Wednesdays. I'm listening, and I've applied at least 40-50% of them into the business already. So wow. As I'm sitting there, I'm like, let me message Jeff and see what his services would cost. Because I could have my team continue to do some social media, get his team to do what they're good at. Let's like really multiply our efforts. And then I realized, you know what? before I pay the guy, like, let me like pick his brain for free on the podcast here, and then like, you know, then we can go there. So everyone, I mean, I really believe in Jeff so much. This is where I'm going. But Jeff, I want to grow my podcast. I want to use your knowledge, and I think anyone listening, maybe you don't have a podcast, but you have a service, you have a product, you have a brand for your e-com, whatever, you want to grow it. So the advice will apply. So today, right now, right here, give me like a little bit of a step-by-step of, I want to see rapid growth in my podcast. What would you tell me to do?
Well, the first and foremost is I would definitely look at what people want, right? And part of that is, and I'm going to bring up those three words that everybody gets burnt out on, but it's so still important today, SEO, right? Search engine optimization. It's so valuable to know what people want. And this is one of the things, by the way, that's super beautiful about a podcast. It's super beautiful. If we're going to be very specific to growing your podcast, one of the really best things that's great about having a podcast is that you're going to get a lot of backlinks, right? Because every time that you're posting a show and you're linking somebody, like you're going to post some, like for example, even me being on a show, you're going to say, hey, Jeff J. Hunter's the guy. Here's his website. Here's his thing, whatever else. That's going to link to my site. But guess what? By the way, you want to know a great hack, everybody? If you want to get invited on podcast shows all the time like I do, you go to people and you tell them before they even ask you, you just make a Facebook post saying, here's why I'm always on podcasts. I have a evergreen repurposing strategy. So every podcast I'm on, like this show right here, when I'm done with the show and you send me the recording, I'm going to have my team chop it up and all the value bombs are going to be repurposed. They're going to be on my own social networks, on all my channels forever. And they're going to link back to your podcast, right? And here's what's beautiful about that, because you, as the podcast owner, I'm going to continuously drive traffic to your website, right? So now you're thinking, damn, Jeff, I should have you on the show more. You're bringing tons of people on my podcast, right?
So is one of the tips then to get on other people's podcasts to grow the podcast?
Yes, to get on other people's podcasts. That way you can have those links coming back to you, right? And another thing that's great is that vice versa, everyone should have a podcast. I'm not going to lie. I was inspired by you, by Zachary Babcock, by all these people that are doing big things. They're starting to really blow up. And you know what? The one thing they had in common was they had a podcast. And just seeing the access that you're able to get because you have a podcast, you're giving a platform to somebody. Listen, everybody is seeking an audience. And a podcast is an incredible way to build an audience. It's just so important to have one. So
you mentioned SEO. Do you do a lot of SEO as part of are you an SEO person, or you're more on the social media side for brand building, or do you guys go in and do SEO as well?
I'm on the social media side, but let me tell you, it all goes back to what people are looking for. Like if you do a podcast episode and you have a title that nobody is looking for, it's useless. Even when I got featured on influensive.com, me and Clinton he's the co-founder of Influensive, we even did a little research to figure out what is the keyword that we want to target for personal branding. And then he also leveraged my own name, Jeff J. Hunter, so that when people search for my name, that Influensive article is the number one first search result, right? So you got to think about how you are adding value to someone else, right? And especially on the SEO side, if you're doing podcast episodes, you have me on, I'm a personal branding guy. You should have a personal brand keyword that is going to be something that you title of this podcast.
Got it. Okay. So for a minute, for the sake of the tactical side, let's assume that at the Fighting Entrepreneur podcast, I figured out what people want. I've been doing this for 16 years. I know how to write sexy headlines, titles, subjects. I can do all of that. So I got that part down. I finish an episode. How do I deploy the social media side to help me really grow this episode? If I just came to you and I said, all I'm doing, Jeff, is I'm going to make episodes and I'm going to do nothing else. I will do zero work except for making an episode. I'm hiring you and your team to do everything else. I better see my thing grow. What are the first things you would do?
So there's four things. The first is doing what we call micro content. Okay. So when I say there's four things, there's four types of mediums that should be done. One should be micro clips. So, 45-second to like 2-3 minute clips that we could leverage and repurpose that build up excitement. These are like value bombs. And then having really good crafted headlines to go with those things, that really that go with those content that are hooking people's curiosity, that make them want to see that video clip. And then there's going to be
a videos, obviously. So clips.
Right.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
Kind of like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Gary Vaynerchuk made that famous by his little things. And by the way, I always use big headlines. Make sure you have captions, because 80% of people don't actually listen. You actually have to draw them in to say what the heck, and then make them click to listen. Okay. And then having a progress bar. Guys, it's unbelievable how much a progress bar makes a difference. As soon as I started using progress bars, I started seeing the retention rate on my videos getting so much higher. And today on Facebook, the average retention of a video is 8 seconds. 8 seconds. So if you have a 50-minute podcast, or Lord, even a 20-minute podcast, no one's listening to that. You have to make these little micro bombs and then get people's attention and then drive them back to your podcast, your post, your website, to watch more, your Facebook group, whatever the CTA is, whatever your call to action is. So first is micro content videos. The second are quote boards. Quote boards are huge, because you can find those little quotes during those podcasts that people can really relate to.
Sorry, one sec. Quote boards, like BOARDS.
Quote pics, quote images, quote boards. You can call them whatever the heck you want. A quote. And if you go to Ryan Levesque's Instagram, you'll see we do a lot of quote boards for him. Like, for example, one of the things that he said, and we just take those straight from the podcast or videos. One of them says, I don't want to build a business. I want to build a legacy that will last a lifetime, right? Like, that was just a quote that he said during one of his talks. And that was one of the biggest quote boards that we got, had hundreds and hundreds of views and engagements and stuff.
So, I mean, apparently, according to Jay Shetty, I mean, they don't have to be my quotes, right? I can just
they don't even have to be your quotes. They can just, yeah, that's true though. But put some credit there. Don't pull a Jay Shetty. It's funny. 3 weeks after you probably saw my post that went viral about Jay Shetty. Yeah. But I made a post about Jay Shetty, and I didn't destroy him. I just said, hey, look, he could have avoided all of this if he would have just gave credit. And then I said why Jay Shetty did it. And the truth is, it's hard to come up with really good content all the time. And I think having a podcast is such a huge advantage, because other people are creating content for you, right? Yeah. You just have to sit there and ask good questions. Yeah. So, and ironically, 3 weeks later, literally just last weekend, just a couple of days ago, I hung out with Alex, who's the guy who's the storyteller that did all of Jay Shetty's, all of his video storytelling. And I even said, I called him out. I said, bro, just be honest. You probably made most of those things. You probably found him. He was like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, the point is,
the stakes.
So we talked about the micro content videos. We talked about the quote boards. And then what I like to do too is I like to do audio clips. Okay. For some reason, I found that these work really good too, is doing audio clips. So you strip the audio out of this video, and then what you do is you put a picture up there. You put a picture of us two talking, or maybe in the background, that person, right? Depends on the brand, and have a really strong headline. And then what I do is I put those wave image, like every time we talk, there's like the little audio waves and the captions. Those work really good, especially on LinkedIn. A lot of people, they like listening to podcasts, okay? And those work really, really good. And the last piece here, the fourth thing, is to have a Facebook group. Guys, if you don't have a Facebook group that you're driving people to, like, you're losing out. Because what's beautiful about Facebook, and I teach this in my core branding method, which we can talk about later, but community is so important, because when you start getting people to join your community, like right when we first started this podcast, the first thing you did was ask people to join your community, right?
Yep.
And the power of community is great, because it's permissive-based marketing. It's saying, hey, Jeff, you're really cool. I like listening to you. I want to see more of your stuff. When people follow you, when people join your Facebook group, when they join your email list, when they subscribe to your podcast, that's them asking you for more stuff, right? So make sure that every piece of content you do is driving people back to community. As a matter of fact, after all of my call to actions, whether it's them subscribing my email, whether that's downloading a free guide, whether that's whatever, buying a product, the first thing that happens after somebody buys a product, subscribes, or downloads one of my lead magnets or whatever, is that they get a screen and a video of me saying, hey, this is Jeff J. Hunter. I'm so excited that you downloaded, that you bought, whatever it is. I want to give you access to me and a whole group of incredible entrepreneurs. All you have to do is join the Scale Your Business and Your Brand Facebook group, right? That's my group. So for you, it'd be your group. So think about how you're doing that, guys. A simple button, one button that says, I just sent you an email. It's coming to you in 5 minutes. But until then, click the button below and join the Facebook group. And you're going to be surrounded with incredible people. You're going to have access to me and my team because my Facebook is full. Like, you can't actually add me as a friend on Facebook. I've got too many friends. So come to my Facebook group. I know you have the same problem. Come to my Facebook group so we can still continue to have that communication.
Well, that's awesome. All right, so let me throw some very specific questions that come to my mind. And what I'm going to say is this. So now we're going to make an assumption. We're going to make an assumption for the next round of questions that unlimited budget, unlimited resources, unlimited human capital to do all of this. You have like the ideal situation. And I've told you only one thing, and that is I want hyperdrive growth in my podcast, right? I want on top of mind. I want to be on top of mind. Like, I just want to go crazy with this. So with that said, a couple of questions. The first one is, and I'm going to go piece by piece, micro content. Which social media platforms should micro video clips go on that you think they do really well? That's the first of your four. And we're going to go down all four and ask which network should that be on.
So for paid traffic, Facebook, Instagram. Make sure you have your targeting right. You should really be pushing it out to entrepreneurs who should be targeting most of the digital marketing world. And here's the thing. Here's where a lot of people go wrong. You should be interviewing big guests, and then those guests should have a custom audience built that's focusing their audience. Like, if you're interviewing Ryan Dice or Ryan Levesque on your show, you should have a custom audience for them to push that out to them. If you interview Grant Cardone on your show, you should have a custom audience for Grant Cardone that you're advertising that to all the time. Okay. Yeah. So
all right.
If you want to have rapid growth, you have to have, again, you have to know what they want. We went back there again. If people are already following Grant Cardone, you're leveraging his authority to grow your network, right?
Got
so
it.
Reach for the stars, baby.
So
Instagram TV is huge. Instagram TV has really, really strong algorithms. So not only organic, but paid. You know that because we were just talking about your Instagram a couple days ago and how you're getting so much more traction on your Instagram TV, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about LinkedIn? Should we be putting up micro videos on LinkedIn?
You should, but you can't boost them, okay? It's not like Facebook and Instagram, but I will tell you, one of my clients, her name's Kathy Karabetsos. She has a call center. She's had the call center for 29 years. It's called QCSS. They work with Fortune 500 companies. She's worked with some of the biggest brands, but she's never invested in her own personal brand. So I flew her out to San Francisco. We did what I call a video branding workshop where we sit down and we build out what we call the connection. So here's the what we do with our clients. It's called the core branding method. And we build out four critical elements to a brand. First is developing a deep emotional connection to your audience. It's very, very important that your audience understands you. The second is putting together a strategy on how to be omnipresent. In other words, like you said, to be top of mind of your audience all the time. Not on top of every audience, on top of mind of your audience, right? Mm-hmm. The people that you know are the perfect audience. A lot of people waste money spending ads for people that are never going to like you, okay? The third part is relevance. You have to prove that you're an expert in your field, that you're relevant to them. And the last is engagement, right? So she flew out for what we call a core branding workshop. We sat together and we worked on her core stories. One of them was about how she was working her 4th year at a call center. She was 23 years old. She loved her job, and her boss, she just walked around one day and was like, "Hey, is there anything we can change? Is there anything that you think we can improve on in the office?" And she said, "Yeah, there is." And she actually said a couple things that she didn't like about the office and gave some advice on how we could fix it. Well, her boss got very angry and she called her in and she yelled at her and dismissed her, had her walked out of the building. She got fired for basically giving honest, authentic feedback to her boss. So she, at that moment in time, decided that she was actually going to start her own call center, and she's always going to value the opinions and feedback of her people. And we posted that video online. It was just a 2-minute video, 2 minutes. And we did a little write-up summary, basically whatever I just said. It was basically a written summary to go with the video. 93,000 views, over 2,000 likes, and 800 plus comments, hundreds of shares. Why? Because people relate with that story. They felt the connection. And everybody has probably felt like there's something wrong at their job, and they're either afraid to voice their opinion, or maybe they got fired for voicing it before.
So
right?
Jeff, I want to bring you back, man, to like super tactical, right? Like, so we posted, so what I pulled away, one of the things I pulled away from what you were talking about with the micro clips to help rapid grow something like a brand or a product or like a podcast, you did mention like with Facebook and IG, when you take those value bomb clips, we should boost them. Like there should be some budget applied and be very attentive to like the audience you're boosting so that it's like that particular audience. Like if I took our episode and I boosted on Facebook and IG, my audience targeting will be different because I know we're talking about brand building, social media, and there's different targets for that. LinkedIn, you said IGTV, we talked about LinkedIn. You said absolutely upload it, but you can't boost it, but it should be there. Are there any other platforms where we could take micro video content clips and put it? It's got to be. There's so many out there. I just don't.
Yeah, of course you can use Twitter. You can use Twitter. YouTube.
I didn't even know you could upload there.
YouTube. And that's why, so for me, I always make everything in 2 formats, wide and square. Square I use for Instagram, I use for Facebook, I use for LinkedIn. And wide, of course, is for YouTube. So YouTube, I still think right now, YouTube is actually money-wise, I still think it's a really strong option, especially now that Facebook is getting really expensive. If you remember, Tai Lopez built up his fame from playing those videos on YouTube. You couldn't go on YouTube without a Tai Lopez video about him in his garage. Remember that?
Yeah. So question for you on that though. I would never thought about that. We use YouTube. We put up a video every day on YouTube. 3 of them end up being our podcast episode, obviously. So like the other 4 are usually clips. I guess like what you're saying, they're value bombs, but they're not that short. We try to go at least 7, 8, 9 minutes. But you're talking about clips. You had said, 45 seconds to 2 minutes. Should we be posting those on YouTube as well?
I would say nothing, 5 minutes or less. I mean, the sweet spot seems to be about 2 to 3 minutes. That seems to be the sweet spot. And that really seems to grab people's attention and they can stay there. And I think that what's happening, and I think this is the truth, man, is that attention spans are getting shorter.
Yeah, they are. Well, Microsoft proved that in 2015. They did a study about that and actually proved it. What about volume of? So on Facebook, on IG, just talking organic for the moment, not paid, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube even. I mean, we do an episode, it's an hour long. I'm sure I can pull out 7, 8, 9, 10 value bombs,
100%.
if not more. Is there like 1 a day on a platform, 2 a day? Like where as a consultant, if I came to you and I said, I want to do 10 a day across all platforms, no resource limitations, let's just do it. Would you be like, bro, calm down. Like that's a little too much. What's your sweet spot there?
So that's funny that you say that because one of my clients, Alex Morton, we did a lot of content for him. We were doing on his Instagram 2 videos and a quote image every day. And then actually we were doing 3. We were doing 3 videos and a quote image every day. And we ended up going down to 1 video and 1 quote image a day. And you know why? Here's why. We found that if we posted a bunch of content on the same day, we would actually get more views. We would get more reach. But the overall watches per video or impressions per video or content was lower, right? Because it gets pushed longer if it's just like the only thing there, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah, makes sense.
by the way, I've tested this on my own personal profile on Facebook. It's the same thing. If I make one, like I haven't posted on Facebook today yet, so I'm still getting likes and stuff from my stuff from yesterday. But when I make my post today, I'm gonna stop getting comments and likes on the other post. Okay. Facebook is feeding the most. I would say personally, 2 to 3 times a day is tops. Okay.
What about
on
with
Facebook,
YouTube?
So YouTube is a little bit interesting. It's different. I know a lot of people, they drop one a day. Most of what I would say with YouTube, and especially since I took the pledge to be honest here,
Yeah,
I am
thank you.
really not great at YouTube.
Okay.
I haven't. I need to. I'm starting to finally make my videos in wide format, so they work better there because it still seems to reign supreme. But I definitely would say, as far as YouTube goes, I'm not the guy. And I would just say, look at what the best people are doing, because to be successful, all you have to do is follow the tracks of people that already are, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the stuff I just got done talking to Gary Vaynerchuk last week. When I talked to Gary, I was telling him about how we're using one of his own content repurposing strategies. And, and I told him, I said, like, we're literally getting paid to do something that he wrote up a plan about. And I won't use his vulgar remarks, but he said that he made people a lot of bleeping money with that thing. And
Of course
true.
he did.
It's true.
I'm waiting for the day that Gary Vee also solved hunger and cured cancer and everything else that young man is doing.
You know what, though? I think through entrepreneurship and the stuff, like, people hate on Gary Vee all that you want, but the truth is he's really achieved something great. He has a really strong work ethic. And to be honest with you, I had very low expectations going into the Digital Agency Expo, which is where I was speaking at a couple weeks ago. I spoke 45 minutes before Gary Vaynerchuk. Right? Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I was worried because my room and his room are like, they're back to back. So I was worried that people weren't going to be in my room because they were going to go wait in line for Gary.
Yeah.
Thank God my room was packed. But he actually went up to the microphone and he just took questions from people, and they were raw. They were real answers. He gave really good solutions. And I have to say, I've gained a lot of respect for Gary Vaynerchuk just the last couple of weeks.
That's awesome. Awesome. So I love this, man. This has been super awesome for anyone listening. I mean, you got micro content, video clips. We talked about which platforms, quote boards, images. We talked about how often you should post. Really, you shouldn't go above the 2 to 3, but I love how you related it to, sometimes less is more. You post once and it gets a longer runway for you. It's also less work. Audio clips, Facebook group. I couldn't agree with you more. I want to tell everybody, I saw an ad the other day. I have never seen an advertisement from Facebook except for when they got in trouble and Mark Zuckerberg had to go to Congress. Then I saw a lot of ads where they were apologizing. Oh, we'll fix this. We'll fix that. I have never seen another advertisement from them ever, except this is a TV ad, except for just, I think over the weekend I was watching football, and guess what I saw an ad for? Facebook groups. So if that doesn't tell you where Facebook wants to go, where they're going, where they see their future, nothing else will. They're spending millions of dollars to get in front of you and say, hey, we like Facebook groups. And I'm seeing it. If I join a group, my gosh, it's all over my newsfeed. Yeah. They're just pushing all the other updates out. Pages are dead. I got 1 million plus people on my Facebook page. I can't get a reach of more than 7,000 people when I make a post. It's horrible. Where I do get a reach, which is kind of cool, is when I post a story. If I post a story on my 1 million person Facebook page, I still get some traction. But
exactly,
the groups are doing really well, and I know that, and I can tell from as a user, I'm actually engaging also in the groups that I'm in. So I can see why that's working. So I love that. Those are your four tips. I want to move into another section which I'm very curious about, and I have some questions for you. So I want to move into round number 4. We'll keep it quick. All right, so round number 4, staffing all of this. right? So here, I'll tell you. I mean, I got a great AV team, and I have them slammed. I couldn't throw another thing on them. One thing I'm not doing at all on Instagram or Facebook or anything, which I love doing because I think it builds brand. You know, you got those pictures. I see Ryan, like you do it for him. He has these pictures of him like on stage pointing. So it's like, you know, he's got that brand presence. He's on stage, and there's a quote next to him. And then there's another picture. Like, I mean, I know Dan Locke is great at this. You know, really rough looking, like looking into the screen, like all serious about life, and you know, makes people think like, whoa, look at that. You know, and I just don't have the time. My team does not have time to start making these images, to start watching all the sessions, to pull out little quotes. Now, I know that we could hire you to do it, but most people listening right now couldn't do that. You did mention earlier that you have a virtual assistant company that you used to work. How do you do this? Like, let's say you're teaching a student that's brand new. They need to build a team. Where do you go? Where do you trust? What countries do you trust? What kind of pay should be expected? If I want to go out tomorrow and just build a like mogul team of like just social media creation, because at Lurn, here's the other thing. What we're building at Lurn is we're publishing experts. So the day is not far where we're going to be publishing, well, we're already publishing people, but we're going to be doing social media for them. So whatever I'm doing for my brand, we'll have to do for their brand. And not to mention, we got more podcasts coming out. So, I mean, I can't keep hiring people at US salaries to do that. I'll go broke before I know it. So that's what I want to talk about. How do I staff this in an inexpensive way?
So I'd say like 80% of my like content creation team is in the Philippines. So they do a lot of my video editing. They do a lot of my graphic design. It's really, really incredible market right now. You know, internationally. Actually, I had one of my good friends who's based out of New York City complain to me that she's losing a lot of work now and she can't charge as much because, you know, the competition on Fiverr even is so
Wow.
good. But for what I find that's very interesting here is that it still goes back to the brand positioning. You know, you can get what you said a lot of things there, and I want to take it back because you're talking about Gary Vaynerchuk said something really funny about what you said. Because I said, Gary, what do I do to my clients that tell me that they don't have time to create content? And then he says, well, then they don't have time for the benefit. And then he looked at me and he made the whole room laugh. He says, you don't have time to go to the gym? You're freaking fat.
Yeah.
You don't have time to spend. You don't have time. But
I want to reverse engineer what I said. I didn't say I don't have time for content. It was the other way around. I said I have a lot of content. I need to be able to afford to micro clip it all and to create the images and to do all of that. Like I got no problem creating content. I have more content than I know what to do with.
So in the beginning, like you said, you know, it's funny. There's this weird apex line. If you have an XY axis here, at the very bottom, you'll notice that the less successful you are in life, the more time you have. Okay. And the more successful you get in life, the less time you have. It's like this perfect conundrum like this to where as you know, when no one knows you, you have a weak brand, you've got lots of time, you know, you don't have a lot of money, right? So you have to leverage the what you do have. The resource you have when you're starting out is time, right? Guys like me and you, we don't have time, right? But at the beginning, you are working hard and you're proving and you're actually learning and increasing your time value. And what's weird is when you increase your time value, you'll notice your brand grows. You'll notice that you are actually becoming an expert at doing something now.
So you mentioned Philippines, right? Real quick. I wanted to ask about that because so for someone who's just starting, you're right. They should do it themselves. They should probably try not to outsource this. But I'm trying to also, you know, ask for myself, which I got no time. I'm not going to sit here and make square videos and pick headlines and do all of that. I got a great team who can do it, but obviously there's only so many hours in a day that they can do and output. I don't like. I've tried sites like
let me guess. Upwork, Fiverr, eDesk, Olance, all that stuff. Freelance.
Specific to Philippines. What is that?
Onlinejobs.ph.
That one, right? And I don't know, man. I talk to people. I talk to marketers all the time. And I hear this all the time. Philippines. Love the Philippines. Great place. Get great people. I haven't found anyone. And it's got to be me. I'm not saying it's the country, by the way. It's got to be me. I mean,
Yeah.
I just can't seem to find the quality of people in outsourcing that my competition or my friends and colleagues are. So I've reached this place where I'm like, look, I don't need to pay them $200-$300 a month. I will pay them $600, $700, $800.
Yeah.
Can someone else just do the vetting for me? I just want good people. I want someone who, when they come to me, I say, I need you to create images of me. Take these pictures of me that are in the Google Drive, listen to things, get quotes, make nice fancy images, and send them to my team.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
So that's how I actually built a job for myself, and I created a company for myself in the beginning before I did the whole branding stuff. When I started VA Staffer, I realized there was a huge gap between what the talent that was available and the consistency and reliability of that talent. And I also saw a huge gap in, for example, on onlinejobs.ph, just the ability to know how to hire people and how to handle them and how to manage them. It was really tiresome. I will be 100% straight with you too. I took the oath. I've got 6 project managers on my team. So I don't directly manage my team in the Philippines or wherever. And by the way, my copywriting team is all American based. They're all Western, because that's really important that they are able to capture my voice, right? And to me, I don't discriminate. Talent is talent. I had a guy approach me 2 days ago. His name's Jerome, and he says, Jeff, you have been such a huge mentor to me, blah, blah, blah. I'm starting to learn how to do app development. I want to work with you to do an app and figure something out. And I said, okay, let's do it. Let's try it out. Let's go. And you know what? The story about Kevin Funn, who is Ty Lopez's copywriter, back before that, he loved copy, but he didn't have any work or experience in copy at all. And he came to me and he said, hey, I want to do copy. Trying to build my brand. Can I work with you? Yeah. And then less than a year later, he's Ty Lopez's main copywriter, right? So the goal is that you want to have people in certain strategic areas. And I'm going to save people a lot of headache right now. Don't pay hourly. Pay for performance. Pay per performance. So what you're saying is, earlier what you said was, hey, look, I don't want to just get a $300 a month salary, whatever. I'd rather pay $600-$700 and get good results. And guess what? Most people would. That's why they paid me and my team over the years more than what they could on online jobs, because they don't have to manage them. They don't have to hire them. They don't have to do quality assurance, right? That's all done in my team. But here's the thing. It takes a time investment, right? Especially if it's just a one-man band. Like for me, I've already built a team. I've got 50 people on my team, right? And I got project managers, 50 people on my team. I'm set. So, it wasn't always like that, right? In the beginning, trust me, I definitely banged my head on a wall a few times trying to get it figured out.
So pay for performance would be like, if I found someone good, I'd say for every image you submit, I pay you X amount. And at the end of the week, we close accounts.
Yeah, because you know what? If you're paying somebody by the hour, let me ask you a question. How do they make more money?
Yeah, well, not just
they work more hours.
Yeah,
right?
But we've also had issues where on that, they just, it seems like every time we hire an outsourcer, like immediately their mother gets sick or their child has a problem or their house gets washed over with the rain. I mean, I can't tell you, like, I apparently am cursed, because when you start to work with me and you live outside of the United States, bad shit just happens to you.
By the way, I hear this all the time. I hear this all the time.
Yeah. So, hey, do you still have your business? Is there a website that people could go to and still do? Throw it out there, man.
VAstaffer.com. VAstaffer.com. Yeah, we still have that business.
And what kind of positions are there? Like, what kind of stuff can people get? Like,
so we do a couple things. We do like executive assistance. So if you need help with like, your email support, tech support tickets, people needing password resets and stuff. Dan Henry's one of my clients as well. We used to do a lot of maintenance on his course and help manage refunds and stuff like that. So there's that part of the business. And then there's what I like, the marketing side of it, which is like lead generation, like helping find new leads, work your LinkedIn account, stuff like that. And then there's the brandedmedia.io. Brandedmedia.io is the brand building stuff that we're doing for our clients, which is basically, helping build out your graphic design. It's crazy how many people just don't have a good brand guide, like how you show up omnipresent on all platforms. Like just having that down is so good. So I would say,
what was the URL again? Brandandmedia.io. Is that branded,
like brandedmedia.io. That's
brandedmedia.io.
Yeah. And then there's a free training on there for people to understand the core branding methods, stuff like that. But bottom line, the really important piece here when it comes to building a virtual business, and it's funny because it keeps coming back to that, because I just got interviewed to be the VA expert on one of those summits recently. Because even though I've kind of hung up the crown on the king of outsourcing, it's still something that people struggle with, and it's still a passion of mine. But
Yeah.
I just want to encourage people that if you're trying to build a virtual team, which there's hardly anything that really needs to have an in-house team anymore outside of a production guy or someone to set up your microphone, or maybe answer a reception. If you've got an office, you might need a receptionist or something like that. Other than that, I mean, literally this job can be virtual. I just want to make sure that before you hire somebody, that you put in place what I call a freedom recipe. Okay. A freedom recipe. In other words, a standard operating procedure that will help people understand what they need to do, and it needs to be step by step. Because what happens is you hire somebody, they come into a position, they see you don't have your crap together, and they're like, I'm out. All right.
Yeah.
So if you want to develop a strong relationship, you want to have really powerful players on your team, you have to make sure that all your different roles are documented so that someone can come in. And that also helps when somebody leaves. When somebody's house gets flooded or whatever else, you can easily say, hey, I need you to fill in. Here's all the stuff they were doing, right?
Yeah. No, that's perfect, man. Hey, listen, this has been absolutely awesome. We're at the top of the hour, a little past it. It's been so great, man. Where can people, you got vastaffer.com, brandedmedia.io. Where can people stalk you, learn more from you, follow you around, find your house, all that stuff?
All you have to do is go to Jeff, the letter J Hunter. So jeffjhunter.com. And I've got all my brands on there. You guys can check it out.
jeffjhunter.com, ladies and gentlemen. Find him on all of the different social media outlets. Follow him. The guy knows what he's doing beyond all. And like I said, he's a dude. So he's fun, straight, direct. And that's awesome. And thank you so much for your time and being with us. Listen, you fighting entrepreneurs, get over there to lurn.com. Sign up. Get your membership. It's free for life. There's lots of courses in there. Many are free. And we got amazing courses that are not free, but so valuable, right? Also, because we were talking about Facebook groups earlier, go to our Facebook group. Just go to the search bar, type in Lurn Nation, Lurn Nation. Join our Facebook group. It's almost, at the time I'm recording, it's about 5,000 people in there. It's fun. We all connect, we hang out, and we ask stuff and do stuff. So make sure you connect with us on. What's that?
I just joined. I'm in the Lurn Nation, baby.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, listen, again, Jeff, thank you so much, everyone. As I always say, when life pushes you, stand straight, smile, and push it the heck back. Go out there, fight for your dreams. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, come on, what are you doing? Hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon thingy, thumbs up icon. Leave a comment for Jeff. He took time out of his day, his business, his life to be here and drop value on all of us at Lurn Nation. Leave him a comment. I'm sure he'll read them. And if you're listening to us on any of the various platforms, please go to that platform, subscribe, and hit the review thing and stars and just all that good stuff, right? Let's grow this community. Let's get more and more people into this community, and let's all band together as entrepreneurs, go out there and freaking fight and change the world. So till I see you next time, go out there, fight for your dreams. Don't quit. Don't stop. Talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to The Fighting Entrepreneur with your host, Anik Singal.